What's an adult problem you weren't prepared for? Story 1. How hard it is to meet people or sustain relationships. When you're young, you are constantly surrounded by people your age going through essentially the same schedule as you. But once you're an adult, it's really hard to meet people in between the daily grind and even harder to plan things with people you do know because they are also living their own lives. So true, especially hard to maintain existing relationships if you decide to take any non-traditional route in life. My husband and I are in our mid-30s and child-free. All of our friends currently have kids and/or are pregnant. We've noticed that we've slowly stopped being invited to get-togethers, even though both of us love our friends' kids. I've put out feelers to try and figure out why, and we always get the, "Oh, we figured you wouldn't want to come. We're getting the kids together." It's become like every get-together now, though, so we never get invited to anything anymore. Feels bad, man. I feel this as it relates to alcohol. My wife and I don't drink. It seems like so many social events and interactions focus on alcohol as the theme. For example, we were invited to a neighbor's house. When we arrived, they got excited for adult beverage time. We told them we don't drink alcohol. Their whole demeanor changed. We were never invited back. In my experience, people who don't drink make people who do drink uncomfortable. I brew beer, mead, cider, etc., and I'm happy to give it out to friends. I try not to push it on anyone who isn't interested. I have found out that a lot of people in my social circle don't drink because of this. Some people don't drink because they have had a problem with alcohol themselves. Some have seen the effects it had on family members, and still, some just don't like the taste or feeling of it. A few times I've been planning an event with a group and have heard the, "Oh, we shouldn't invite X because they don't drink" line. The people saying that never know the reason X doesn't drink, they just assume that they are a recovering alcoholic. So I think people who don't drink aren't getting invited because people are making assumptions about their reasons for not drinking. I always advocate inviting people and letting them decide if they want to attend. I also try to bring non-alcoholic drinks in addition to my alcohol-based drinks. Ginger drinks are pretty popular, as are carbonated punches and aids. I find it strange that no one cares if someone doesn't smoke weed in legal states, but not drinking alcohol is considered weird. Basically the same thing. I've been a teetotaler my whole life because of alcoholism in the family. It also took several years to be comfortable around people who drank a lot, and for me to come to terms with when my partner wanted a couple of beers very occasionally. Fortunately, I've never really been pushed or bullied into drinking. Just about everyone is chill about it. Have people purposefully not invited me because of it? I honestly wouldn't know, but being around people while they were drinking helped me understand that not everyone acted like my family. I'd totally get it if a recovering alcoholic wouldn't want to surround themselves with it, but it offered a bit of healing for me. I was raised Mormon and didn't drink until I left the church. I was included by colleges at their parties, but uncomfortable and unsure why. Now when I'm at parties, I've realized there are two kinds of non-drinkers. The ones that act awkward about it, me back then, and the ones who just get a cran soda with a twist or something and hang out with everybody. No one notices or cares much. I think sometimes people just feel like non-drinkers are judging their choice to drink when they bring it up too. I think that I was making people uncomfortable because I was uncomfortable. However, there's definitely something to be said about being able to have a good time without alcohol. People get too reliant on it as the be-all and end-all. Story 2. How much do you have to sell yourself? In my younger years, it was enough to just do the work well because the teacher had to grade your work. As an adult, your boss and interviewers may not even look at it, let alone understand what you did. The work you do is 20 to 30% max of your status, pay, promotion, etc. The other half is who you do it in front of and how well you get along with those people out of work. I worked my ass off, freaking hard, and only got crap projects and work because I was always out working, not spending time with the office staff. As soon as I got near the paymasters and decision makers, when they could actually see me working and taking responsibility, I got bumped up a few levels. Now you just go out for drinks with a select few seniors and watch all the crappy jobs get given to other people. I've had panic attacks when I don't have 1/10 the work I used to have, and I'm still told I'm doing too much. Is it kissing ass? In some jobs it would be. I moved around until I found a spot where I actually like and get along with the senior people, and now it's just hanging out with friends and getting double the paycheck at the end of it. Is that right? I don't know. It's just the way it is. Something my manager told me as soon as I became his employee was, you can be the best in what you do, but if nobody knows who you are, it doesn't amount to anything. You need to throw your name out there. One of my jobs is to help you with that, but I need some substance, so keep doing what you do best and send emails about it. In parallel, I'll keep mentioning your name left and right. He's completely true. No matter how good you are, if people don't know you, they won't come to you for anything. That's true for work in the office, but also when you have your own company. Communication is a source of power. Yep, I manage a department of software development teams. When it comes time to demo our work, I constantly push for the developers themselves to deliver the demos to executives and customers. Show the bosses what you did and brag about it. What sucks is a lot of devs are introverts, hate meetings, or are already in the mindset that they just want to clock out at 4:59 and go home. So they politely tell me to get screwed. Then the Scrum Master gives the demo. All the bosses gush about how awesome the Scrum Master is. The devs get even more pissed and the cycle continues. We had a guy at work who was annoyingly positive, one of those vegan dorks who's raising 2 girls with a super hot wife. He was like a golden lab. You could assign him something really important. He'd get really excited about it with you, and then when you leave him alone with it, he'd just chew it to bits and expect you to be impressed. He literally couldn't do anything unsupervised and had nearly 0 self-starter skills that were valuable to the company. When I had to switch jobs due to a move, he was actually one of the few people I missed, because he was just such a good positive energy to have around, even if he was useless without supervision. I saw a great meme the other day, essentially like this. College, your paper is due in 1 week and must be at least 5 pages long. Work. You have exactly 7 seconds to explain this to me. Being able to explain difficult projects, concepts, or decisions, etc. to management that has a limited understanding of what's being asked is an incredibly valuable skill. I know a ton of really smart people who get too technical or in the weeds when dealing with leadership and it really holds them back, and others who are smart but meander around what they're trying to communicate, so much that leadership loses the plot. Some of the best corporate communicators I know can basically ELI 5 anything they touch, to anybody at basically any level of depth. It's a learned skill, but probably one of the best you can get for most careers. Story 3. How much of your time revolves around eating and/or making food, cooking, washing dishes, cleaning sinks, even just selecting what to eat? So much damn time. Meal prep, meal prep, meal prep. Every Sunday, I cook for a couple of hours and have 5 breakfasts, 5 lunches, and pre-cut vegetables and marinated meat for dinner. On weekends, I have fun, grill something, smoke something, and go out for dinner. But during the week, when I'm at work, it's about food that will get me sustained energy through the day. Kefir, blackberries, blueberries, oats, and chia seeds in a mason jar for breakfast. Sometimes I have to force myself to eat at 1 p.m. still full. This week was Italian sausage, navy bean soup, peppers and onions. I'm lucky we get fruit and snacks at work, but it wouldn't be hard to also bring. Dinner was chicken thighs in the air fryer, bok choy, broccoli, and noodles ready in 20 minutes. Cleanup is 5 minutes. End of the week defrosted shrimp and stir fry with rice. Feel better, lose weight, save money, save time. You just have to play for 4 hours instead of 6 hours on Sunday afternoon. You are objectively right, so the following is not meant to contradict you, mostly to vent. Here's how my weekdays are spent. Sleep, 8 hours. At work, 8.5 to 9 hours. Commute, 1 to 1.5 hours. Getting ready, 0.75 to 1 hour. Dog, 1 hour. Small chores, half an hour. Cooking and eating, 1 hour. That only leaves me with 2 to 3 hours of free time each day. Time that I can only spend according to the fact that I need to go to work the next day and spend it being kinda tired from working, so nothing meaningful can be done anyway, other than spending time with my partner. I can only do stuff such as small hobbies. Now, we have the weekend, during which I need to spend around half a day doing some bigger chores, laundry, floors, cleaning the bathroom, etc., and also attending to myself and my dog. There I'm left with about 1.5 truly free days. There is no scenario in this universe in which I take another half a day to prepare food for the whole week, allowing me to have no more than 1 full day to do something sizable to enjoy. Yes, I could take it to meal prep, giving myself 1 extra hour a day. But then again, 3 to 4 hours on a weekday is not enough to do something meaningful. That's why I'd rather eat once a day by taking around a full hour of cooking or eating in the weekday evenings. It allows me to save that precious not being too tired half a day to do stuff I enjoy. But yeah, you are right about this. Feel better, lose weight, save money, save time. It does save time. just that the time it saves is not the right type of time, for me at least. There's always one more thing to do. When you're a kid, your mom makes your meals and you have to take out the trash every few days, or maybe clean your room, and complain about it every step along the way. When you're an adult, you're cooking 3 meals a day for 2 or 3 or more people, doing the dishes, taking out the trash, composting food scraps, sorting, recycling, sweeping, mopping, laundry, picking up after the kid, picking up after your partner, going to the grocery store, changing the oil in the car, mowing the lawn, cleaning out the fridge, fixing the fence, tightening a screw on that one squeaky stair. And that's Saturday. Tomorrow you're doing half of all that again. And then you go back to work, and the week is lost. This is why your dad sits down in the recliner, cracks open a beer, and falls asleep watching football at the end of the day. Any port in a storm. Everything happens so much. Story 4. Elderly parents losing their minds due to dementia and needing care, but nursing homes are $7,000 per month, and in-home nurses are $3,000 per month. Yeah, that's a freaking problem that no one could have prepared me for. This hits me. My parents are in their mid-70s and both still pretty sharp, but recently I was building something with my dad and I really saw him have to stop and think about the basic math problems related to what we were building, and it really hit me that he was starting to get up there. I remember being a kid in the 90s and him helping me with my math homework, and he could do pretty complex multiplication in his head quickly. We're going through this with my father-in-law and his wife. His wife has severe dementia, and while he isn't as bad, it's getting there. They live 2 hours away, so we're trying to get them moved to a place closer to us. We'll be spending our weekends for the foreseeable future dealing with packing up their house, helping with their finances, and finding an assisted living place for them to move into. It's overwhelming. Just lost both of my elderly parents after a complete nightmare year of caring for them. Mom developed dementia, Dad didn't, but his health was failing in every other conceivable way. It has been the hardest year of my life, hands down. Nothing else comes close. Everything in my life is now divided into before versus after the hell times, as my sister and I call them. All the desperate, urgent hospital visits and doctor's appointments, constantly recalibrating what they're capable of, constantly scrambling for a new, better living situation that covers more of their needs. Okay, now they can't drive. Whoops, time for temporary assisted care. Wait, no, now they need a permanent home. Oops, now they need one with a live-in nurse. Can mom even learn the way to the dining hall? Oh, now they need level 2 care. Now they need a rehab center. What do you mean we need hospice? How does that work? Where do we even go? The wild shifting uncertainty, the gigantic expenses, and that huge pressure to make sure you're doing the right thing for them. And that was only 1 year. Well, with about 3 years of kinda part-time care before that. Add in the emotional stuff. Watching my once strong dad frail and in a wheelchair, and downright weeping as he grieved my mother. Holy crap. Now they're both gone, but we have another year ahead of us of packing up their stuff, all their beloved little mementos and things, selling their house and the little lakeside cabin they and I loved so much. Everything sucks. Everything is so sad and awful and expensive. And it has all just wrecked me. The whole rest of my life has fallen apart. I'm so far behind at work, and the hit to my savings has been crushing, to the point where I don't know if I'll ever recover. It blows my mind to realize that just about everybody goes through this hell at some point and just never talks about it. Yep, my parents were broke, but were loving, and I lacked for nothing growing up. Their financial status is starting to concern me as they get older, especially with Medicare on the chopping block. They have 0 retirement plans and dementia runs in both their families. The husband's parents are in worse financial shape, and he was raised by his grandparents, so it's like he has double the pain. All 6 older adults in question are in poor health, but not bad enough to kill them. Just bad enough to make their remaining years very difficult. It's going to suck and no one has answers for me. They had more financially stable siblings handle those final years for their parents. And me and husband are both only children. Yes, this was a crap show for my parents and still not really great. My mom got sick and then got dementia, but my dad insisted on taking care of her. He also got sick and she started escaping, and they would have things like having to call the fire department because he could not pick her off the ground. Then things got really bad, so I'm stuck having to see both of them suffer but being unwilling to call the police or someone to stop it. Eventually my dad gave up and my mom was moved to a home. Still very hard for her to be here and not be here. It messes with your brain and you can't mourn. At least they are both getting better care now. Story 5. Realizing your parents are not the person you think they were as you grow older. It was only when I was older I realized just how hard my parents worked bringing us up. We would always be doing something, sailing, camping, walking, whatever. And as a parent, it's just so time-consuming and there's so much stuff to take when you have kids. I always loved my parents, but becoming a parent and then my dad's death made me appreciate what awesome people they both were. Mom is still with us, and how much my dad taught me without me realizing it. I realized how incredibly lucky I was, and I've tried to live up to the man my dad was. I miss him so much still 18 years after he died. So yes, they aren't quite the people I thought. They're better, even though I always respected and admired them. Or seeing them go through some crap. My mom went through cancer and is not the same person she was before, not even remotely. And now she's a full-time caregiver for her partner, whose 5 children really need to step up and put him in a home where he will be safer, and my mom won't be killing herself every day caring for him. I still love her and would do absolutely anything for her, but I miss my old mom. Yeah, growing up and getting space and really getting perspective about your parents' flaws, and then having to manage those flaws at times when you go back for a visit. I've lived 1,500 miles away from them since college, and I don't regret it. Like, I look back sometimes and think about how my mom occasionally throws actual tantrums when she doesn't get her way, a tendency I've seen crop up several times over the past 20 years. She's never going to change, and it's something I have to always keep in mind when dealing with her, if this is something I want to have to fight over. Replace 1,500 miles with 250 kilometers, and this text could have been written by me. It took me quite a bit of time, well into adulthood, to realize that those meltdowns aren't something regular adults go through, especially over some random BS. I wouldn't even think twice about it. We still have a good relationship, but I've also given up on trying to get her to change. I've stopped giving solutions for the problems she's rambling about unless asked, because she will ignore that and/or repeat the same mistake again and again. And I've stopped nudging her to finally get some therapy. The biggest problem is that I inherited some of those character flaws and neglected to work on myself because I was busy dealing with her BS. When my nephew described my mother as just a racist old lady, it really hit me. I have known that for a long time. Lately, it's gotten worse, and she had started casually using the N-word, which I don't remember happening in my youth. When I was a teenager, I always assumed she was more progressive, but I think as a teen, you're more likely to assume everyone thinks like you. Honestly, when he said that, I felt all kinds of ways about it, and I think relief was one of the bigger ones. He and I aren't close, so hearing someone else who knows her completely separately from me and not from my perspective was validating. Story 6. The Relentless Admin of Life. 100% what I came here to say. It never stops. Dentist every 6 months, tax filings every year, remember to take the cat to the vet, send a birthday card to your in-laws, remember that your partner likes cheddar cheese, but not that brand, vacuum the house, oh look it's dirty again less than 48 hours later, argue with your Wi-Fi provider over a price increase, do the laundry, adhere to the new low-sodium diet the doctor recommended, contribute to the potluck at work, do your research before voting, pay the auto insurance bill. None of it is big stuff, it's just an absolutely relentless army of small stuff that kills your joy. I think this is part of why we're finally starting to see more people appropriately diagnosed with ADHD. The administrative and attentive burden of life just continues to grow. We used to be able to just struggle through it, but no, it's just too difficult. Source, me, but also like every mental health professional I know. Is it actually more difficult though? Perhaps there were a fewer things like you didn't have Wi-Fi or cell phones, just TV and landlines. But everything was so much more time-consuming. You couldn't just look up how much money you have in your bank account every day, or how much you have spent on your credit card. They would mail you a monthly statement. And outside that time, you would have to go to the bank during work hours and wait in line to find out. Organized people wrote down every purchase in their personal checkbooks and used this to keep track of their spending and compared it against the statements provided by the bank. Since the bank also had the same system of people manually recording entries, you were likely to find mistakes. Unorganized people lost money. You also had to take your pets to the vet, and for a long time you had to cook their food as kibble wasn't in wide circulation until the 70s or 80s. You had bills and doctor's appointments too, and the only way to pay bills was checks in the mail with long lag times. Another reason to track all that in your checkbook. Making appointments for anything involved calling from your landline or showing up in person, and there were no reviews of service. If you wanted a recommendation, maybe someone you know had someone they liked, and if not, tough crap, you're calling any random person in the yellow pages and hoping for the best. Business hours were also structured to accommodate single-earner families. Grocery stores were commonly closed on weekends and in the evenings. You couldn't look up hours for places on the internet, or even directions to get there if you called. Maybe they picked up. And if not, that wasn't a guarantee they were closed. Tracking appointments was also more tedious. When I make an appointment now, most places send me a calendar invite with the time and address that is automatically put into the calendar on my phone. Back in the day, they'd tell it to you verbally, maybe write it on a card, and it was your job to be organized and input it into your physical planner and check it every day. If you didn't, you missed everything. I think people are diagnosed with ADHD more because we are more understanding and aware, and also most people don't have the support of a full-time stay-at-home admin in the form of a wife or mother. We're all expected to balance it all on top of a full-time job. This is obviously down to the individual, but I sometimes wonder about the digitization of admin and its effects. We're now learning that physically writing something down increases the retention of that information. Having all my purchases digitally tracked is a lifesaver for emergencies, but I kinda wish it wasn't so accessible. I get into a, why should I write this down? Someone has tracked it for me mindset. But that just creates a false sense of knowing, where all the info is a click or two away, but I can't apply any of it to immediate real-world situations because it's not internalized. Unorganized people continue to lose money, just digitally. Navigating a healthcare or benefits portal to make sure you aren't leaving stacks on the table is already like pulling teeth. But it's also done on the distraction machine. Predatory subscription services don't even give you a human to interact with when you finally build up the energy to attempt to cancel. Higher than average impulsivity combined with digital storefronts means you can evaporate thousands chasing retail therapy dopamine with the mere click of a button. I like having the little cards businesses write their appointments on. I get to magnet them to my fridge, so I have a constant, highly visible reminder of the business, the date, and the time, all at a glance. Meanwhile, opening my phone calendar is not only a 4 to 5 step process, but I get distracted by any other apps or notifications and forget why I was checking the calendar. These are all things that have undoubtedly made life easier for many people, but I kind of resent the overwhelming amount of infinite choice. Please, I say, stop giving me 15 different cat carriers to compare and contrast across multiple web pages. Do not show me hundreds of different cat carrier reviews on YouTube channels. I will sit there paralyzed, wasting time fretting over insignificant details and worrying that I am making the wrong choice. Apologies, as this turned into a bit of a rant, and I understand that there are likely workable solutions for these things. It just feels so defeating when this tool that you've been given that makes everyone else's lives easier seems to offer up new and exciting roadblocks that no one else sees. Story 7. How tired I'll feel all the time. Make sure you talk to your doctor about this in case it's not just a lifestyle, and even then, your doctor should still know that too. I had sleep apnea for well over a decade before I got treatment for it because my tiredness grew at such a slow pace I was able to manage it with progressively more and more caffeine. Again, slow pace, to the point that I didn't know just how bad things were until they were very bad. Had it been caught earlier, I would have fewer medical issues. Unfortunately, caffeine is actually very bad for us, and the amounts necessary to manage sleep deprivation even more so. It causes great harm at greater than 100 milligrams a day, if done regularly and long enough. And your body will not heal from the damage. Story 8. Death. Family, friends, your own. Dad died in a motorcycle accident in July of 2001 when I was 5. 2 months later, I left kindergarten early when the schools closed down and watched the towers fall on the news. I kept wondering why the world stopped when a couple of buildings fell down, but when my daddy went away forever, I just had to keep going through the same day-to-day stuff like nothing happened. When you lose a parent that young, you create an emotional distance between yourself and everyone you meet going forward. I'd much rather have faced that as an adult instead of writing to Santa, asking if he could bring my dad back, and having real hope that it could happen. Not just death, but even sickness prior to death. I was shielded from my grandmother having cancer when I was in high school. Then, just within 10 months, I lost 3 family members, one being my own father from lung cancer on Christmas Day. Lost my aunt months before that, of the same ailment, and my grandfather from old age and dementia. The deaths hit hard, especially on Christmas Day, at the house and realizing we arrived too late. But the wandering of when and how long just weigh on you and knowing there isn't a damn thing you can do about it. or how no one would care if you died or were dying. I had heart problems recently and could have died at any moment. So many of my so-called friends would always tell me, "I'm busy, maybe next week," or "Ugh, can't today, something came up," or "Sorry, but I have to cancel for today, something came up." Like, man, this could be potentially the last moments. You could at least seek to spend the most time you can with me. Not only that, but most even distanced themselves from me because I was basically like I was handicapped. I couldn't go partying, drinking, or do stuff with them or for them. Story 9. How boring being a parent can be. Like, my kids are my life and I love them, but sometimes I don't want another conversation about Minecraft or Halloween decorations. You also lose a sense of yourself for a good long while. Today, for example, my wife is out of town on business and my kids' grandparents are taking them for the night. I genuinely have no idea how to spend the day. I haven't had a hobby in years. There are things around the house I should be doing, but I don't want to waste my first day to myself in years doing chores. This is why it's important to have some time, not only for yourself, but for you and your wife too. My parents made sure that they got time to themselves, both individually and together, in between time with me and my brother. And they had a long and healthy marriage as a result. Plus, it makes it slightly easier when the kids move out, so I've been told. I can do everything but pretend to play. Dirty diapers, breastfeeding, sleepless nights, kids' music, kids' shows, I actually love it all. I love being a mom. Pretend play? Shoot me in the face. The secret to not listening to crappy kids' music is to start them in good music early and refuse to compromise. My wife would always ask what they wanted to listen to in the car, so of course, there was endless hours of Blippi, Perry Grip, and truck tunes. Meanwhile, I would just put on what I want to listen to and they would never complain. I would let them pick often, but when they're with me, they usually pick something that I've listened to with them. I try to be an understanding parent who is good at listening, but the son has played some really crappy ad-supported browser game on Roblox during IT class, and it's the second freaking day he can talk about nothing else. I am a gamer. Early nights I play some amazing games with immersive production value, and having to listen to him rave about that literal waste of bandwidth like it's the best thing ever is so utterly boring and painful. I showed him some amazing games, but he is only mildly interested. He prefers that Roblox crap because he can play it with his friends. I understand it, but that doesn't make it any easier to keep on listening with a straight face. Story 10. Loneliness and stress. I've had multiple doctors and therapists recommend I manage my stress better. I manage my stress as well as physically possible. I try to stay calm, I practice acceptance, I have good friends and good relationships, etc., but that doesn't make my life any easier. It doesn't make the constant stress of daily life and the loneliness it causes any better. I can't change society. Living under the weight of capitalism is driving almost all of us to an early grave. Story 11. They said, study now and play games later when you've made it. I've made it, but I don't have the freaking time anymore, Dad. Play your games, kids. They lie to you. This, enjoying life is all there is. I worked so hard when I was younger. Got good grades, did all the extracurriculars, won awards, busted my ass for scholarships, performed well to keep those scholarships, graduated with honors, immediately got a job, blah 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 blah. Now, as an adult, I look back and wish I had just had more fun and enjoyed my life when I was young and full of energy. It's so silly, but I'm only just now learning to have fun again. There's a balance to find, of course, but doing everything right in order to prove your value to everyone else just isn't worth it if you're not actually enjoying your life. The joy and fun of life is kind of all there is. Otherwise, the chaos and monotony and loneliness and competition and irritation and anxiety all rob you of your life energy, and it's so much harder. Figure out how to have fun while also doing what you need to do, kids. That's the secret, in my opinion. There is also the fact that some people just die before they can live their lives. I focused on school when I was younger, then high school, and then wasted my time going to college. I knew it was going to be a waste, but parents and others kept regurgitating the same lie people say when you need a college degree in order to get a good job. So I went anyway. I work at a job where most if not all of my coworkers only have high school degrees and common sense is thrown out the window regularly. It's a toxic job, and if it wasn't for COVID, I would have been on trips each year to places I might want to move to get out of this crappy city. There aren't any better jobs really around here unless you have special degrees, like nursing maybe. I haven't gotten to live my life at all yet. I was excited to finally have money and time to go on trips back before COVID started. Around that same time, I saw an article about a person who died in a vehicle crash at 28 years old. Didn't really dawn on me till then that if that was me, I would still have missed out on a lot of stuff I still haven't gotten even close to doing, and it's depressing. I really hate how COVID kinda screwed over a lot of stuff to where I basically had to put on hold or just plain cancel a lot of my plans. I am not as worse off as a lot of people, I know that, but it still really sucks. I'm not getting any younger and everyone is basically running out of time. I just know I can't just go and do whatever at the drop of a hat. I need to try and plan stuff out, otherwise I will be even worse off than I am currently. Which means researching and planning stuff, and that's extra work, and I'm already tired as it is. Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story to these that you want to share with us, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.